Good night to those that are watching and those that will be watching the playback. I really appreciate you guys always joining. I just got off work and I was just having a long conversation with my good friend, my brother, and just watching this Ricky Smiley joke about when he got stopped in Birmingham. Freaking hilarious. I gotta forward this on WhatsApp, man. I would post it on the channel, but I really don't want to get stricken down for that. In fact, let's go ahead and make sure that sound is working. Yeah, it sound is good. All right. So one viewer, and that's me. So let's go. Man, that's too funny of a joke. Let me just get this out to people here because this is way too damn funny. Oh man. But tonight what we're going to do is talk about code integration, or sorry, command integration. So pretty much taking commands and integrating them into the shell, or into the shell script here. Now, we've kind of done this already with some other stuff, but to be very honest, really haven't gotten into it. So this is going to be something that's new. We're going to try and integrate the GitHub CLI, or the GitHub the GitHub CLI commands, or command line command, but the GitHub CLI package into our script and make it all work. So let's get this out here. Yeah, and I get it to everybody else later. Yeah, one more thing. I swear. One more thing. Today's a bit of a long day too. A lot of freaking work. A lot of stuff that just had it's better than yesterday though. I'm down in Florida at the head office, so I just dealing with every just office stuff and being in the office again. So that is you get used to working from home, put it like that. But you do get those interactions that you just don't get because you don't call them. It's it's not the same, so on and so forth. So that is pretty cool. All right, let me separate this window here on my little command center screen and get it over into the stream. Oh, where is it? All right, and just minimize it. There we go. All right, so we have the GitHub CLI tool, and a part of the boilerplate script. Oh, that is the wrong window. A part of the boilerplate script is to pretty much generally we want to automate the creation of a GitHub repo locally and in the cloud. So we have to go through the process of initializing the repo, and then also the other stuff that you have to do in terms of, okay, you got the repo now it's initialized. Now you have to try and actually do a push request to do your initial commit for your boilerplate code. So it's like, okay, how do we do that? How do we get that done by the CLI without having to log into the GitHub website to actually make that happen and just automate things for us a little bit here. So let's look at the documentation. And this will be like many of my streams. It says coding, but there's other stuff we got to do. All right, so let's see. If we want to do installation, check the README. All right, cool. So let's split this screen here. I try to, okay, so the font looks good in terms of size. All right, good. Oops, sorry. Ooh. I like that. I'm only dealing with one extra screen here as opposed to the, 4-screen setup that I have at home. But the show is on the road. So let me. All right, so that's just going to bother me, but it is what it is. No biggie. Okay, so with the GitHub CLI, so it uses the GH command is how we do stuff. GH is the GitHub command line. It brings pull requests, issues, and other GitHub concepts to the terminal next to where you are already working with Git and other code. Okay. So that makes me think. So if you're doing a Git, you should be able to do like a Git init, and that will get you started. But I want to create repositories from the CLI itself. So you could do like GHPR status. Now, a part of command integration is actually looking at the documentation, albeit boring sometimes, but looking at the documentation and seeing what can actually be done. So we have to do things like set our Git protocol. So I'll start a little notepad here actually about interesting things here. Okay. Hopefully we can get to some testing because still got some other stuff I gotta do, and I actually have to try and cook tonight and then still go for my walk. The only thing that's kind of nice about being in Florida, since there's all street lights and everything like that, I can go for a walk at like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Back at home, if you don't get out by sunset, you don't want to be out there, man. I don't trust that nature yet. All right, GH API. All right, so CLI menu. So we can do things like GitHub Enterprise Server. Well, we're not doing that. Setting the editor. I don't think we have to do that in our case. All right, GH set Git protocol. I think this is an interesting one. We might have to set that protocol. Probably just gonna be set in HTTPS. It's usually the easiest thing and what I'm used to. So read more about GH config. All right, so display or change configuration settings for GH. And we'll get to the installation of this as well. It seems like it's a little bit more involved. So Git protocol, Git editor. So current respected settings, editor, prompt, it's a toggle, prompting in the terminal pager. The terminal pager is to send standard output to. Okay. All right, that's not much in there. So let's do, so alias list set started. Each alias. See the set. Declare a word as a command alias that will expand to the specified commands. Okay, that's nice to have. I mean, that's just a easier way of you can just kind of what's it called? Do a bit of a shorthand for commands. So that's nice. Let's get. I'm not gonna work with the API yet or anything like that. Config, clone. Oh, so this is for issues. And this is for pull request or PR, release, repo. Oh, okay, cool. So repo and then create. Let's go to the repo page, see what it says at the beginning. So, all right, so work with GitHub repositories, and we're gonna do GH repo create, GH repo clone, CLI. Oh, I guess that's like you can clone a certain folder. And then GH repo view web. I'm not sure about views. I've never really worked with views at all with GitHub. So, all right. So with that being said, all right, cool. All right, so that being said, we're gonna, all right, let's go ahead and try and do the install for GitHub CLI. So this is the README on the github.com/CLI/CLI. And there doesn't seem to be like a Debian package or anything like that. So GH is available via Homebrew and and as downloadable binaries from releases page. Okay, so let's go to the releases page. Hopefully you have a .deb. Yep, looks like they got a .deb, so that's cool. So we just got to find the right one. So linux.deb. Yeah, so it's ARM. That's ARM V. We need AMD 64.deb. All right, cool. So we're just going to copy and paste that link there. And what we'll do is we'll go to our user folder by just pressing CD with no other commands or anything else or anything else there. Like, so no directory or anything like that, just blank. I don't know why it took me so long to explain that. And we're going to do a wget. And wget is just to get information from the web. And we're going to paste our link. And I could do like a -O to output that. So I could put that out to like, whatever file name or, .exe or even, I can actually output where I want to actually go. But in this case, we will not do that. So GitHub, all right. We got that done pretty quickly. Request found. All right, cool. Great. And I think it's dpkg-i. So Debian package or dpkg-i, and -i stands for install. In fact, let's go ahead and look at the help menu here. So as I said, if we're working in screen, you'll do Control A and then Shift. Or actually, no, I think it's this. That. Yeah, open square brackets. All right, so -i for install or -- install the full word. And we have a couple other things here, such as remove and purge. Now, one thing we have to do is when we're looking at, installing some new software or anything like that, I mean, I don't see any other dependencies here. So maybe they have a special install script or something like that. For more information about distro specific instructions, see Linux installation docs. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and look at that. All right, so Debian official sources. Oh, okay. So we can actually just use the app package manager. Now, what you just saw is me just going through the documentation and just looking at it and saying, okay, well, how do we install it? So you'll see over time that you'll have shit-tastic, horrible documentation working with any one of these different systems or packages or anything like, just a whole just working with a whole system or even a server or even just specialized software that even at the enterprise level that you're paying a couple $1,000s for in licensing fees per month, they'll just have craptastic documentation. Windows is very well known for that, or Microsoft is known for that as well. And then also outdated documentation, which is always a problem. But I will not lie, documentation, even when I'm writing documentation, it's hard to keep up with. You're always focused on the code and doing that. So hopefully as your project grows, focus on documentation. The biggest thing with documentation and providing these links is now it's a lot easier for people to really get on board with your actual project and find a way to actually use it. So in my case, for my documentation, one thing that I've done is TSS wiki. Hopefully I paid the bill. All right, I did. Sweet. So I use Confluence. And for my treestarsystems, I actually go like my GrowBox project. One of the things I did was like really go deep into documentation. So for instance, GrowBox seed. This kind of scripting that we're doing is kind of what I do with the GrowBox seed. So for instance, you have your nice little pictures, everything that's in there, and then it shows you, I can just copy and paste all of this here, or I can press the copy button. This is a new feature. But I can press that whole copy button and it'll actually go ahead and run this for me. So for instance, and I give different ways of doing it. You can either use wget or you can use curl. Some distributions will not have wget, they'll have curl, and it's well known. One thing I didn't do here is, okay, if I wanted to install this, I have to use, it gives you all the different command lines or the different commands that are expected here in terms of instructions, and then the username and password for user. So I try to like give you at least a nice little template. Like you just can't copy and paste this whole thing and it just runs. You have to do a little bit more in terms of like figuring out what you're actually going to be doing with this. So let's go over to -R, which is for Growbox root. With Growbox root, I give you that full command. So now you can actually copy and paste this whole thing. Also, it points out a couple other things. So the only problem I say with this documentation is that it's out of date in terms of like I haven't done anything with this project for a long time. And I really do need to get back to it. And this is one of the reasons why I want to do these live coding sessions, because I want to get back into coding. I want to get back into things that are actually going to improve my skills. And doing personal projects really does help with that. So that's my documentation. That's how I run it. And I definitely suggest that you do the same in terms of when you're working on a project and you need to put the proper documentation together. Understand, people are not in your head. You have to document your steps. Also, you have to think from the standpoint of somebody that is coming in and using this after you, and they want to know how to actually do it. So making it easier for them where it's just copy and paste and they can immediately get into the environment, and it's not like a whole I have to find this obscure documentation that's connected to this Stack Overflow article and all this other stuff. Make it as easy as possible. Do things to actually make your product easily or user friendly, I should say, even for technicians. I find it where it's like, even if you have to do things like create certificates or anything else like that, you actually have to, write it out, make it easy for that person so that they can actually go ahead and do all these different things. And then, give them proper documentations of how to actually run all this stuff. I've been working on an Electron app, finally getting into that. And the boilerplate, the Electron dash boilerplate repo was a good repo, and it actually had decent documentation to where I can actually get the app up and running. And within like an hour or so, I had a start of an app that I can actually show my boss to say, hey, listen, this is what we're going to be doing eventually, so on and so forth. Anyways, let's get back to it. So it has a package manager, so I don't have to go through what I was just about to go through with the .dev file. I can actually run all this with app. Now with app, I think I can actually run Debian files with it, but I'm just so used to not doing that, so forgive me. It has sudo commands, so we're already in root, so we don't really need those. Let's go to our text editor, and even if we did run the sudo command, it wouldn't kill us or anything like that. It'll just run it all the same. And I think it's Control Shift. Oh, crap. All right. All right. I think it's Control Alt. There we go. All right, cool. So this right here, if you're behind a firewall connection, this should be working fine for us. And also gives you how to do it on all of the other operating systems as well, which I really do like. I wish they would have put that on the front page, but I can see definitely why they put it on this page instead, because you can only fit so much on a README, and you don't want to make your README too long as well in a repo. It starts to lose people. So for instance, the TSS repo. So if I go to this repo and I go to, this is probably a better repo a better README, one of my better ones. But with this post receive, this is where I was really starting to get to be a little bit more spotty with the repos and a little bit more fancy. And I started to add like links for the documentation, diagrams, installation instructions, video playlists, and then actually add an image of how this whole thing should flow. I like seeing things like this in terms of, okay, this makes me have a better understanding of what this project does and how it actually flows. And then having this presentation with people actually helps quite a bit too. And see where like that mail flow.pg is right there. I actually made that in draw.io. It's a great platform for documentation or making diagrams. All right, let's get to it. The only thing I worry about, I wonder, hold on. How did they get this image in the README? Where is that reference? Nice. Nice. Okay, so they reference this. They referenced it via URL, which is nice. All right, cool. I don't need to see that anyway. Just press enter, get back to our command line here, and we can just copy and paste all that stuff. So we go through, update our repo, should drop us to that command. Let's maximize this here. All right, cool. And sometimes that's that easy, and sometimes there's other things that you have to do because, as you can see, it looks like okay, there's no other repos that we or there's no other prerequisites that we have to fill, so that's cool. All right, well that's since that's finished now, let's go ahead and let's sign in here to our GitHub. All right, and then okay, got to do a verification code because I done turned on MFA. All right, so we're gonna need this here in a second. I think I just want to make sure that when I do all this, it starts to really show up here. All right, so let's take that, leave that. All right, so now we got GH installed. So with that being said, yeah, let's do this here. Let's go ahead and add GH to our script in terms of what we have to do for installation. Now with command integration and some of the other steps that we have to do here, I think we have a second terminal window. All right, so let's go nano and project primer. Now we have installation of system dependencies. So we are going to add GH to that list. But with that, we also have some prerequisites. Prerequisites. Oh, goodness. Go ahead and change that password. Oh, goodness. All right, settings. Profile. Security analysis. Building plans. I'm not too worried about it because I do have MFA turned on, but at the same time, you just gotta protect yourself. And one of the things is just not doing stupid stuff like I just did. Profile plus stars. So give me a sec while I do this. There we go. Also, if you guys ever need a password generator, if you go to pass pass.mjns.net, or sorry, pass.mjns.it. This is something that I made a while back, and I do have all the repo information down there. So you can just do alphanumeric passwords with no special characters. You can do complex passwords with special characters in different areas. And then you can do a dictionary set of passwords, and it just generates 20 passwords for you. So usually this is where I go ahead and I just generate my passwords. All the actual words that are used in this are, I think they're more than 10 characters. And then, yeah, they're more than 10 characters. So it's from an actual dictionary, or a dictionary, like as a GitHub dictionary, and like it has like different files, or it has like it has a dictionary. It's a dictionary of every single word in existence or something like that. Every English word. So it's pretty cool. There was like an actual repo that does all that, but all that's in the repo itself. And there's a CLI version to this as well as the web generator. So you can run your own password generator if you want and download it and host it yourself. But I use this quite a bit. You can just use dictionary over and over again. It'll generate more and more. All right, cool. So let's not be super stupid and put that on another page. All right. All right, so that's been changed. And it's another reason why you want to put in MFA, because, you know, if you do something stupid like I just did, then you can always just like all right, passwords out there, you know, my username, but do you have access to the place where I get my MFA from, or my secondary level of secondary level of authentication? So that's another reason why you want to be careful with what you actually put on a stream, because in some cases it could be providing a whole vulnerability for some of your own customers and things like that. So that's why I like to do like actual what's it called, personal projects instead of actual projects that I do at work. Alrighty, so what did I want? I wanted this here. All right, great. So we have this. So what we have to do is we have to get the key server. I want this actually. So what we have to do is get the key server. There we go. Copy. And so this key dev, this is planned to, I plan to have this work via using probably the root user is when I do this stuff. But what I'll probably do is add sudo to it. Then that just makes it a little bit easier. So because for some users that don't have that level of access, or the same level of access that I do, so we can just go ahead and do that. And again, that's just making it user friendly. Sudo doesn't hurt even if you run it as root, that I know of. I've done it before, so I can't say that it's ever been a problem. NPM, it shouldn't need sudo or anything like that. You shouldn't have to. That's a user level operation, if anything. So we added sudo. So what we did here is just in terms of like putting in command integration. So we've added the key server, the add repository, and then all the update commands are already handled because we handle that here. So update, upgrade, and then after that, once we've upgraded fully, we'll go ahead and run we'll run everything so we can actually download all our different packages, our necessary system dependencies. So we put that in, so that's good. I'm not sure if I'm going to update this to the repo because I think this is out of sync. So I have to figure out, I don't know why I didn't, I swear I pushed the last, I made a commit before I left the house, so. But I don't have access to that computer, partially on purpose. All right, so we've integrated that. So now this script should automatically download that dependency for us. Cool. I need to get GH. So now with GH, I should be able to do repo create. All right, let's try it. So with that, and this is yeah, okay. This is one thing I don't like. So for instance, if we have these little code boxes here, a code box shouldn't get in the way like of me copy and pasting like that. The dollar sign should not show up. If you look at even what I do here, my code boxes, I can just do it and then I don't have to worry about the numbers, but at least they're still numbered so you can see which ones are actual separate lines and not very long lines that are wrapped. Um, think about that with your documentation, do better than that. It's like really small things like that. But once you look at documentation for a long period of time, you're like, what the hell? And you'll know the difference between like really, really nice documentation and just like documentation that's like, oh, okay, this is okay. It's getting me where I need to. And I'm just kind of being a bit of a nag about that too. So let's go ahead and we'll keep this the same aspect ratio. Yeah, we'll keep that the same aspect ratio. Sir Anthony, man, thank you for joining, man, and thank you for just interacting. Former developer here, I admire your work. Oh man, salute to you, brother. I really do appreciate that, man. Why are you a former developer, man? You should still be developing, but in your picture, you look like a lawyer, so probably making more money now, less stress, maybe. All right, and then those that are in the chat, I think it's really just us, brother. But yeah, thanks for greeting. All right, so GH repo create. I don't know what this is going to do. So let's get our documentation side by side here. Show help for command. Okay, so let's see if I can do this. Okay, some commands, if you do a dash help, it'll only do a dash help for the actual GH command itself, as opposed to doing a help for the repo create command. Some are not that robust. The help mechanism is not that robust, but let's see what this one does. Nope. So auth login. So to authenticate, please run gh auth login. So before we get to the end, duplicate, and then we'll get rid of the CLI page. And then we'll go CLI, and then we'll do auth, and then we'll do login here. So authenticate with GitHub with a GitHub host. The default authentication mode is web-based browser flow. Alternatively, pass a token on standard input with token. The minimum required scope for this token are repo. Scopes for the token are repo and read org. The scopes flag the scopes flag accepts a comma separated list of scopes you want your GH credentials to have. If absent, this command ensures that GH has access to a minimum set of scopes. Okay. Oh, okay. So this is really nice too. So I can make this text file in another window or something like that, or have this text file protected by permissions. Maybe it's like, I might do a chmod 600 on there, meaning it's only read and write, no execute for just the user and not, for just the user and not the group nor other, right? So definitely look at the chmod command and POSIX compliant permissions. So with this, authenticate against github.com by reading the token from a file. Authenticate with a specific GitHub Enterprise server instance. Okay. Let's see some of the options here with web token. All right, I don't know how this command is going to work here. Let's duplicate this session in a new window here. So, and I don't know how. So most of the time when you're typing in your password, it allows you to type in the password. Yes, login. Use arrows to move. So okay, so this is cool. HTTPS. Authenticate, get with your GitHub credentials. Yes. Log in with the web browser. Please authenticate. Oh, I don't have a web browser. First copying. First copy your one-time code to open github.com in your. Please enter. Press enter to open github.com in your web browser. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's not going to work on my server. So what it's asking, what it's requiring me to do is authenticate to the web server, or I have to use a token. So in this case, we're gonna have to use a token. All right. So we're gonna get out of this, and I'll do that off screen here. With GitHub, they're implementing a new security feature, and you actually have to start using tokens to get into their system. So not for every single thing, but most things you're going to have to use a token. Oh, I never put in a token for this one. All right, so under GitHub, and then go to settings, or this is so github.com/settings/apps. Here, I'll show you this part at least. So you can choose new GitHub app, and then after you do that, because I actually had to do this the other day, I'll be choosing like a personal access token. But once you've done this and you read this into a file, or you provide the token as a string into the standard input, then it'll authenticate you using that token. And then if anything happens, you can always just get rid of that token or re-authenticate in some way, shape, or form. It acts as pretty much like an API key. If you ever use an API key, it's just a string of characters, and that string of characters is unique. And you can always, what's it called? It'll authorize the use of that. You authorize this app to use your repo or a service using that API key, and then with that API key, it allows you to access that service without having to put in like the password. Maybe you have to put the username in, but you won't have to put a password in. Now, what you can also do with that API key is you can change it and refresh it every so often, just in case it becomes compromised, or depending on your security policies. All right, so I'll do this off screen here. So new GitHub personal access token, need an API token. So personal access token, need an API token for scripts or testing, generate a personal access token for quick access to the GitHub API. So generate new token. In this case, I am going to generate a token called Obfuscate. And I can give it certain levels of access. I can show you this actually. So after I've hit personal access token, let's go back to that. Generate new token. And then it's going to ask me like, the note for that token. So we can just make it a little bit descriptive here. What is it? This is like, what's this token for? In this case, I'm going to do repo. So full control of private repositories, access to commit status, access to deployment status, access public repositories, access to repository invitations, read and write security events. So in this case, upload packages to GitHub, package registry. I can delete packages. I can do admin, full control over orgs and teams, read, write, and run org projects. Really, I think I only need the top stuff. So create gist, access notification, user update all user data. No, I don't need to do anything with that. I don't need to do anything with the PGP key. And after that, I'll just go ahead and hit generate token. But this is really where I need to deal with here. So repository status, full control over private repositories. So let's just say access to commit status, repo deployment. All right, so repo deployment, repo invite, no. Read and write security events, no. Public repo, access public repositories, yeah. full control over Pi repositories, write packages. The only thing I don't see is that where it says repo, and I just like looking at this, I'm like, okay, well, you got repo status deployment. You have access to these things, but do you have access to actually write? Hopefully this works. But this is a part of discovering, making when you're making a script, you're going through this whole thing and you're trying to discover all the things that that you can do and your limitations, restrictions, and then also things that you never thought you could do, but that would be really cool if you could just like, do it. All right, in this case, we'll just go ahead and make this happen. So we'll generate the token, see what happens. All right, so it gives us a token here, and this token is, we cannot lose it. We cannot lose this, because if we lose it, then we have to like make a whole new token or something like that. So let me go ahead and I'll put this in a temporary holding spot here. All right, cool. Got it there. And then make sure you copy the new token. Boom. So you can, all right, looks like you can generate multiple tokens here. I'm just going to generate another one and repo, generate. Oh, okay. That's cool. So I can generate multiple tokens for different applications with different levels of access. So that's a really nice thing. And then I can also revoke all those tokens if I needed to. But in this case, I'm just going to delete this new token that I made. Get rid of that because I can always create another one with the same level of access. So it's not really a big thing with these tokens. But this is what happens to it after the fact. So you can see that I created the token. It shows what it can do. And then I can revoke it all or delete it. So I don't have to, it's not like it's like, all right, boom, this token is compromised. Hopefully it doesn't cause any damage, but I can always go back and actually make a whole new token if I need to. All right, so let's go ahead and okay, cool. Oh, and you can regenerate your token too. So that's a really nice thing. So I'm going through this here, and it's like I can go ahead and edit all the permissions that this token has. I can't see the token. You can only see it once, but then I can also regenerate it I can regenerate a new token. But that just means, as it says, if you lost or forgotten this token, you can regenerate it. But be aware, any scripts or applications using this token will need to be updated. So yeah, we don't have that problem here, thankfully. So we're good. All right, cool. So, Jesus, that's a lot of tokens. I think this number that was in the URL is sequential. So, all right, so let's go ahead and write this to a file. Echo. Echo, and we'll call this Obfuscate token. Great. So I just echoed this string into a file. So if you do echo and then, so I can show you. So echo string, which is encapsulated in this case in quotation marks, and you can also escape those quotation marks if you needed to as well. And then we echoed that, or we pipe, or we what's it called? Write that into a file, or we send that off to a file. So if you do the greater than symbol, it means write to. If you do less than symbol, it'll mean read from. So write that to, and then file name, right? So whatever that file name and whatever extension you wanted to give it. So I did that on another screen here, and let's go ahead and let me not be stupid. All right, clear that. All right, so then now, per what they do here, or per what they allow, I can do get auth and then my token. So in this case, if I do cd space dash, that'll get you to the previous directory that you're in. So we're just going to go back to the boilerplate directory, and I want to do it from there, but I can do that. I think I can do this command from anywhere, because this command is system wide, which I don't totally like, because that means like if GH is running just on the system, then it's just always going to use this token, and it's only for that repo. So there may or may not be a big deal. We'll see, especially for me. So with token, and then in this case, this token is on this system, and then obfuscate token. All right, cool. All right. Oh, missing required scopes. Okay, so additional authentication scopes for GH to have. So -S in this case. What are our scopes here? Well, I know I have my scopes here. The public repo and repo deployment. I know I have these as my scopes. So it says repo and then read org. Missing required scopes repo and read org. So I have repo and read status. All right, let's just give it what it wants in this case. And we're going to do with token GH auth login. I think we could do the S here. So we'll do repo. I wonder how this list has to look. I wish they did give an example for this, but you can only ask for so much. Because it's just like when you're programming, you can only do so much in terms of getting everything out there. One thing we can do is on another screen here, exit out of this file, I can do man gh. And in the man pages, sometimes they'll give you better examples. So I guess is a good reason to do this. Oh, wow. Okay. In page 160 and press help or Q to quit. Okay, so in this case, I can do gh-auth. So it's telling you the other places where you can actually do issue create, repo clone, PR checkout. So it's giving you like the basic stuff. So I'll do a man for gh-auth. All right, so man gh-auth. Give me a little bit more. It doesn't give me anything. Okay. Well, that's crappy documentation or man pages, but there's a lot of online documentation. So let's go ahead and look for that. GH. Let's first look for the error. So error validating token missing required scopes. So I'm not sure if I'm missing those required scopes in the file. Am I missing it from the command line? Let's search. Can't validate token. Identity platform. All right, cool. So we found something here. Describe the bug, expected versus actual behavior. Which name, field authenticate, GH version. Could you try editing the token by adding user email scope 2? It shouldn't be needed, but one person reported that it fixed them in this. Okay. Token I'm using has a scope defined. The only scope missing is write public key, write discussions, and manage. All right, so here we go. Could you please use the token in the following request to check its reported exo auth scopes? Okay. Looks like this is with an all auth token. This has gotten a bit stale. Feel free to reopen if more support is needed. Okay, issue, so try to token, add every permission. This is the joys of integration. So repo, read org, and workflow. Okay, so this is pretty cool, or this is telling, but I have to go in. Maybe you need to update your GitHub access token for this scope. So I gotta do like everything. Okay. So add repo now and workflow. But I don't think this is so I made the changes on the back end here. So now I have repo and workflow, and that changes things here. So okay, so let's get back to this to the screen. And all right, so that's cool. So it changed. So it says error validating token, missing required scope, read org. So now it doesn't say repo anymore. I actually have to do read org. So all right. So in this case, for said token, I filled in everything here. And then I also added workflow as it's ingested, and then read org. So let's go ahead and update that token. And as I said, I can go totally recreate this if I ever needed to, but now I see read org, repo, and workflow. So it looks like it's off actually getting information from the actual site and or from the site using that token. So there's stuff that I don't have to define a scope with a dash s, it looks like, unless I was doing probably those cut down permissions like I was doing before. So just a thought, but I'm not going to test it here. All right, cool. So now I'm authenticated. So that should be done. Now let's go ahead and install to create. Let's get rid of this page here. So we got that done. We can get rid of this too. We can get rid of this, get rid of that. So now I should do, let's go back to repo and then I can do gh repo create, hopefully. Oh, okay. Repository name, Node.js boilerplate. Oh, okay, so that's cool. Let's do this in another folder. So let's go ahead to the previous directory, make directory test dash repo. And then this may require us to do like a git init for the repo itself to initialize that folder as a repo. So we'll see what happens here. So now let's go ahead and do test repo, and then I will run the same command here. Not a git repository or any of the parent directories with a .git. Boom. So now that means I have to do a git init. Now what this means is when I write my function here, so when I write a function for this, PM2, I have to replicate all the things that I'm doing on the command line right now manually. So if I do core.js, testing generate. All right, so do generate core.js. Cool. So, so that should be fine. I don't need all this really. Sorry for actually, you can just do this, zoom out a little bit, but I think this is, I've been noticing my streams are super grainy, so I try to be mindful of that when I look at this stuff. In fact, let me increase this screen size here, but it's a little bit tighter on this here, but it is what it is. We'll work with it, right? Let me make sure I'm. Sheed, we here, man. Thank you for joining, man. I'm sorry I'm late on that. I just didn't have that up on my. I don't have all the multiple screens, so brother, I really do appreciate you. Joining and interacting with the chat, man. Appreciate you. If you're still watching, or if you're going to be watching the playback. All right. Thank you guys so much, man. I really appreciate every hi and everything like that. It's really kind of cool, man. So, all right. So do generate. So we won't be doing a generate here. We'll be doing a do. Get. Yeah, we'll just do get. So what we're showing here is that the system has to already authenticate us. So we're gonna have to add that. Let's just add a comment here. Run authentication. What's it called? Procedure. So in my case, for the authentication procedure, so when I'm thinking about this, right, I have to run the authentication procedure. A part of the running the authentication procedure is actually this right here, where I have to put in the token, right? So we'll just do this here. File name. Okay. All right. Now, we only have to do this the first time. And we probably don't want to do this like every single time. So you may have to have a conditional in there. Check if already done some. So it's just like, okay, well, we may have to check if it's already done because we don't want to overwrite it. Maybe we have multiple Node.js apps running on one system, and then we still want to run our boilerplate, but we don't want to have to go through this. We may even actually have it to where you can skip the step if you wanted to for the authenticate portion. So maybe we just add a question in there. Maybe add question. Allow user to skip. So meaning that we won't do any type of string validation for anything that's entered. We'll allow that person to actually skip all of that. So yeah, that might be something that we want to do here. Also, I probably want to test. I had to write this to a file, but when it says with token, maybe I can get by without actually putting in the I can get by without actually having to put in the actual token in a file. So actually, let's look at that real quick. Okay. Auth login with token. Authenticate to GitHub by reading the token from a file. Okay. So reading it from a file is, I would say, better. Oh, look at this. This is us not reading here, or me not reading. So alternatively, pass in a token on a standard input by using with token. The minimum required scope for this for the token are scopes for the token are repo and read org. Okay, so I did read that earlier, but definitely didn't follow that or didn't understand the gravity of that. All right, so this is where we start to write out. It's like, okay, well, it's going to have to prompt us. So if we're doing a prompt, we can already copy some code that we have below. In Nano, you can press Control V to do page down. In our case, and you can actually press Control. Ooh, I think it's Control Y to do page up. Yeah, Control Y, and then Control V to go down here. All right. Not sure if I'm having connection problems here, but that was a little bit of a slowness. Control U to paste or to uncut. Actually, let's make sure that we put it back before. All right, so project name, good. So prompt for auth, auth token. I don't have valid. All right, so I'm just thinking about this, like just wording it out here and saying, like, okay, well, if a user is looking at this and they're reading this and they want to go through it, how can I make sure that they understand what I'm trying to get across to them? So that's just English in this case. So use ask a question. Would you like to enter your GitHub auth token? And I don't want to put too much information. They're going to have to look for a GitHub auth token. I could possibly put the URL, but something like that could go off the screen. So I don't want to go into all that. So that's just like, we can say press enter to skip the project name, and then we'll say auth token. All right, so now it should be taken in our auth token. And we didn't get this from anywhere per se. I guess we kind of did. Yeah, we can do that. All right, so we don't have to. If they enter in an invalid auth token, I don't know what that's going to be. So now I do know with an auth token, they do have a bit of a syntax to it. From the looks of their auth token, it looks like they may have it's like G-Hub or something like that in it. But the problem with that is you can't predict what another system is going to do every single time. It's going to cause you to have to it's going to cause you to constantly update it based on that. So we might want to do, oh man, because we don't want the person to mess up or anything like that. And then that could actually, one false step, especially in a script, could mean that, an error. So what we can do though, is check if the previous entry yielded a bad result. So what we're seeing here is, all right, here, let's do this. Put that in here on the screen. So with Linux, you can echo the previous command's exit code, and I can do $, and I think $, I think question mark. So yeah, the previous exit code was a 130 for the previous command. So now something like this, we can actually run this command and then say, okay, the previous exit code was X, Y, and Z. So now let's go back to our repo create our auth token command. So auth gh auth login with token. All right, and then we can run echo space $ question mark. and we could see that it did the 0. Anything other than 0 in terms of an exit code means that it exited in an error. So for instance, let's go ahead and run that off because it doesn't look like it's causing us any problems here. Change the file name here. Oh, it says no such file directory. Now if we run the command to look at the exit code, it's a 1. Anything other than 0 would be an issue. So now we can actually map that information, or map that actual variable $, question mark, to a variable, and then check for that variable to see if it allows us to go forward or not. So if the person actually puts in an auth token, then we can say do this. If there is nothing in the auth token, then we can just skip that step, and then hopefully they're authenticated. So it's just a way of checking. There's more you can do in terms of like there's more you can do in terms of checking to make sure that it doesn't go past another step. But all we're going to do for now is read the auth token and then run the command. So if and I have to look up the if statement of like if it's an empty string or not, or to test for an empty string. I think it's like -z or something like that. I don't think I have it. Now I'm wishing I wasn't coding this in Bash. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and look up the test for empty string. So Bash test empty string. Yeah, -z. So test if command outputs an empty string. All right, so can -z. So, all right, cool. Got the syntax right. -z. And then I'm going to see auth token. I can do that for, it says test if a command. Yeah, so I can do -z, and yeah, I can do it with just a variable. Great. Turn true. Okay. If, all right, so if, and then it looks like I have to encapsulate that with quotation marks. I don't know why. At least that's what the example is showing me here. Yeah, we'll run with the example. Auth token, and you guys know what I do. Like I'll just be searching on another screen, searching for what the problem I'm having. So in this case, I would search for something like test for empty string or something like that. So if then you do an else. So this is where we get into a little bit of thinking here. So if auth token, and I could put a not symbol, or sorry, an exclamation point to say not. So if auth token is not, if it is not empty. So if auth token is empty, and we'll go with that, that's fine. So if it is empty, no, if it's not empty, we'll do not first because that's what we really care about the most. Then I think we can do something like, I don't know if we can do break or anything like that, but bash variables empty or not. Echo empty. So let's think about this. If it's empty, all right, cool. So if it's empty, if there's an empty string, or sorry, if it's not an empty string, I want it to go ahead and run the get auth login command, right? So actually, let's see with this login command. let's see if it allows me to actually put in string. Accepts 0 args, received 1. Uh, so, so sometimes you like, so for instance, I don't want to write this to a file because then you'd have to clean that file up later. What if it doesn't clean and then you're actually pushing this into your repository? Is that a problem? Do you want it to be the same file every time? So these are some of the things that I have to go through when I'm like coding some of this stuff, but there's ways you can actually. Ugh, so it's not taken. So it looks like it's going to expect a file. So no such file directory. So maybe what we have to do is write a file. So if we're going to write a file, okay. So this is probably not the best place to write it, but this is the place that I'm first thinking about. So if I have to do this, I'm going to have to do a prerequisite step or a precursor step. I'm going to have to echo $sign auth token. I'm pretty much doing what I did before, where I just echoed the original string. Noja 82. Let's see here. Do you know how to use VBA for Excel? No, I don't really get into VBA for Excel. There is quite a bit you can do with that. I use other libraries, mostly JavaScript is my language of choice. I am coding currently in Bash, but it is something that I would be quote unquote open to, like just to do. You have to a little bit with VBA for Excel. I know what it is. There's a whole editor behind that, and there's a whole coding language behind it. I don't know Visual Basics. I don't know that coding language, but as I always like talk about here on the channel, learn logic and then it's syntax after that. So once you learn the logic, then you can go from there. So I don't know, Noja, do you know about that in terms of VBA for Excel? Is that something you want to get into? Do you have any questions about like maybe resources where you want to train up on that, or is it something that you guys probably want me to do at some point? I don't know if I'll do it anytime soon, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, it'd be something that we can look at. If you ever need help with that, just let me know. So short answer after the long answer, no. I don't know VBA for Excel. I know of it though. It gets pretty serious. And you see that a lot with stock market analytics or stock what's it called, spreadsheets that actually watch the market and do all types of other stuff. All right, so continuing on, I'm going to echo this auth token or the string known as auth token into a file, and we're going to put that file into the TMP directory. Node.js2. Yeah, I use Excel for work all the time, and I work with dashboards and pivot tables. Yeah, so you're like Mr. Tableau, you're Mr. probably Domo or something like that. And I use I go crazy with okay, I'm gonna say I go crazy with spreadsheets, but it sounds like you would show me up pretty easily. So let's actually look at this here. So Noja, some of my other streams, if you haven't been watching them or don't watch them, I go into all of it's taking its time to load here, but this is like my financial projection spreadsheet, and has all nice pretty colors, has nice graphs and everything like that. And I get this from other tables, and then I run all types of different what's it called, formulas in here for stuff. So like how much cash I have, like do an index filter to get the last line of a column and stuff like that. So I'll go crazy with spreadsheets. Right now, a part of what we're doing and what I want this to evolve into is that I want to take this spreadsheet and turn it into a full-blown API for myself that's actually going to start going out there and getting all this information. So I don't have to like actually go through and, get these values from my Roth IRA or anything like that. Well, these I'm going to have to manually enter because my brokerage doesn't have a read-only API yet. Even I wish they did. That'd be great. But with Coinbase, they do have one. So I will be using that API, and hopefully it'll evolve into getting that and then generating all these numbers for me on a regular basis, so I don't have to actually go ahead and put in information every 2 seconds. But that's the purpose of where this is actually all going. Okay. All right. So I've written small macros with VBA, but not sure what I'm writing, honestly. Yeah, it's like that. So usually some of the things I do here on the stream is like I test little bits of code. So test little bits of code at a time, and then also research it. Sometimes, a lot of times I'm just Googling stuff to figure out how it is, and then also using my previous experience to work through these problems. So I understand your pain in that sense, man, but just keep at it, bro. But learning that actually really helps, and then maybe you can turn that into something a little bit more robust at some point. That'd be kind of cool. This is what I'm trying to do here, and probably turn this into Node.js app. Sir Anthony, I've always found VBA for MS Office application to be pretty fascinating. Never got into it though. Yeah, VBA is kind of crazy in terms of like what it can do, what it can do with your spreadsheets, and then all the other information that you can populate in your spreadsheet to actually make it a little bit more dynamic. And that's really good for when you're doing like trading and analytics. Hedge funds use things like that, and also use other plugins and plugins that will actually execute macros, and then also go out to like Yahoo Finance and other APIs to get more information, for like live stock trading or anything like that, or stock numbers. Gabe, Stack Overflow all day, yes, and night. No, this is not Vim. I am not a Vim ninja. I use Nano, but this is Termius with a nice little color theme, or the darker theme, and then I use Nano along with Screen, and that's kind of like my IDE of choice. But yeah, I'm not a Vim ninja. I'm not good enough for that, or patient enough for that. All right. So as I said, or as we're going through, we're going to have Nano. Gotcha. Yeah. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to run the do git command. Okay, so ended there. Let's make this full screen here so I have a little bit more real estate. Try to maximize the text for you guys, but sometimes it's hard to. I need more lines, need a little bit more space, but we'll work with it here. So in this case, we're working on this new function do git. Part of it, we're running the authentication procedure, check if it's already done somehow, and then maybe allow the user to skip. So in this case, the user hasn't skipped. If we do in bash, if we wanted to test for an empty string, Maddox, man, thank you, brother. Thank you so much for joining the stream, man. I really appreciate you always showing up, brother. It's also great to have you guys, man, really. So if we wanted to test the auth token string for it to be empty or not, yeah, let's see here. So if not empty, then we wanted to do something. So we want to actually write that to a file. So let's go ahead and write that to a file, but we're going to write that file in the temp directory. So TMP with the temp directory in Linux, what it does, it is this a temporary storage location for for files, and over every so often the operating system will go in there and delete anything that's in there, especially on like restarts and things like that. I'm not sure if it's mapped to the memory. I don't think it is. Like some other directories are actually mapped to a like a RAM drive, if you will. But with the temp directory, it's not for long-term storage. Also, in some temp directories, I've seen things stay in there for a couple like hours or days. So I don't know, for some temp directories, I've never had to configure it in terms of the operating system doing some, quote unquote garbage collection or anything like that. So we're going to do temp auth token, and we're going to do auth token. Right, so we're just going to write that auth token into the temp folder into a file called auth token, if it actually is good. And then from there, what we're going to do are for GitHub. So what we're trying to do is authenticate with GitHub if the person enters a string. And we're going to do this here. And then it's going to do auth token. And actually, let's do a little something here to make it a little bit more unique. Maybe we're on a system where we ran this a couple times. We don't want to override an auth token, or maybe it's a system with a lot of people running this and they're all writing to the temp directory for one reason or another. We can generate a random string. So we're going to use Control Y to scroll up in Nano. And so with this, oh, wait, hold on. Oh, sorry, trying to kill a mosquito. I didn't get it. Damn it, I hate mosquitoes. And the worst thing about mosquitoes here in Florida is they are small and fast. The ones in Georgia, I like them because they're big as freaking elephants and slow as shit. So with this gen random, I know I've used it before. So let's do something here about this, because I don't know how to use this function, and I should be able to read a comment to use this function. So this is proper documentation within the actual script or file itself. Not proper documentation, but it's a good practice here, especially if you're doing things. I'm seeing some cool stuff in Visual Studio Code, which I don't use often, but I'm using because I'm writing an Electron app for my day job. And definitely really nice for some of the stuff when you see people put in the work to make their code easily usable or referenceable, and even in Visual Studio Code. Really cool what that does. So in this case, it's pass the length of the excuse me. That's the desired length of the string. Yeah, what is your regex variable looking for? Pardon if I'm derailing. Yeah, you see that there. What was that looking for? That is looking for valid domain names. So thank you, Sir Anthony, for the bless you on that. That's looking for actual valid domain names. And oh, that's not good. You know what I don't like? I usually like to reference what I'm using stuff for, and that's kind of slow here. So let's. So our system ID. Oh man, I hate when I do that. All right, so I got that from somewhere. I usually get it from Stack Overflow, and now, damn it, Gabe, you derailed us. I'll look at it later. I'll have to look for it later, but I usually like to comment, the source of where I got it, so you and other people, myself, can actually look back on it. So even if I do it multiple times, I just like try to put that in there. All right, cool. So I'll have to definitely put that in there. The desired length of the and That's a, there we go. All right, so, and then we'll put a nice quick example here. So gen random, and then the number like 5, because we want to string that is 5. No, you're good, Gabe. I'll just look it up later, but I just want to make sure that, I'm staying focused with some of this stuff. But no, that's actually a good question. Like, about and then it's also good to make sure that we put a source in there. And then also that what that shows me is that there's a problem with my variable name. You don't know what that regex does. So it's like, I look at it and it's just like, what the fuck? That doesn't make any, like, what does it do? So let's do this. Regex. So I usually like to say, like, have a common name and then a little bit more specific as it goes on. So I'll do regex, and it will be for valid host name. There we go. So now you should know that without even having to ask. And that's important when you're doing coding in any sort, in any fashion, is to know, is to actually put out valid host names, but valid variable names, or smart variable names, intuitive variable names, variable names that actually mean something, that actually describe something. The phrase I'm actually really looking for is a descriptive variable name. All right, so in this case, regex valid host name. So now, but we've made that change. So now we've invalidated the code somewhere else, regex, and then we'll replace it with regex valid host name. So in Nano, you would do Control W, Control R to do a search and replace. You put in your search string, and then and then it'll ask you what you want to replace it with. So in this case, I'll press enter, and I've referenced regex here, so I'll press Y, and that is, yeah, that's the only occurrence. It's going back to the top, so it's wrapped. So I'll press N on this, and that was the only occurrence. So now I can save that. But good call out on that, because the reason you didn't know is because I wrote a bad variable name. Random 5. All right, so I think this is how I ran gen random. So let's go ahead and look for layout. And I think I ran it somewhere else here. Nope, only those 2 places. So with gen random, we're just gonna have to test it. Fuck it, do it live. All right, so do get, and I want to run this. I want to run that gen random 5. So now if I wanted to actually, have a directory that this is going to output to, I'll have that directory, and then I'll actually add a variable at the end for that auth token there. So I don't know how I can actually do that properly, but I think this will work. And the only problem is, okay, so what we need to do is, so we make sure that gen random is always the same. So for instance, if I ran temp auth token and then gen random here, and then ran it again here, that gen random should actually generate another, a different random string. So it won't be the same file when it's actually going to read it. That is going to be a problem. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do temp gen temp random and string. So Gabe says, what file extension would the auth token output to? In Linux, it can just be a regular file. You don't actually have to have an extension. I am using Linux, by the way. I'm using Debian, or a Debian-based distro, Ubuntu Minimal, or Minimal Server. So it's all CLI based, and it's very lightweight. But this doesn't really need a file. But the it's the Linux operating system. I can say .txt if I wanted to, but in this case I won't. I can even say .exe, and it'll still read it as a darn file if I wanted to. But yeah, good question though. So random string, and we're gonna do equal sign. Now, in earlier videos or earlier streams, a couple streams ago, we when we put out a string, or when we made a or we were doing a initiating a variable or defining a variable, we do random string, and then in this case, we can't have a space in between the equal sign. So the equal sign itself should just be right next to the actual variable name. So in this case, I'm going to do random string, and then I'm going to do gen random 5. And then I'm going to down here call the variable. Sometimes I write into so many different things. So, so in this case, let's see here. I can use this syntax here, but that's for echo. I shouldn't have to do that with this string. I shouldn't even have to do that. No, we're gonna do that. So we have to encapsulate it in $ and then parentheses. What that allows us to do, or sorry, what that allows us to do is run that bit of code that is within that, and then it should evaluate to an actual string. But we can also test that. So we're gonna do that before we even do this stuff. So actually, let's go ahead and comment this out here. And then what we're gonna do is echo, and then we're gonna echo this string here, or what we want that string to be. So, and then we're going to do random string, get rid of that. So let's see, and then there's no else here. Let's comment out all of this because we're not going to use it yet. And let's say we're going to run do get. And also there should be some more here at the bottom. Okay, so do prompts is not outputting anything. Good. Do get token. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and open up another screen. So we do Control A, Shift S, and that'll split our screen here. And let's go ahead and do shell 1. So Control A and then number 1 in this case, because we have another shell that's already open. Screen is a very great tool. This is how I can use this as a bit of an IDE without having to have multiple terminal windows open. You can even use this within Putty. I'm just using Terminus, and Terminus is something that you pay for. But I love it. It's worth it. All right, so we're not even at this part here. We are going to do, I think it's Node.js boilerplate. And then we're going to do project.sh. All right, so we have a syntax error at line 235, Control A, and then I can do Control Shift dash, and that will give me a prompt in Nano to where I can actually go to a certain line number. If it's in Vim, I think it's like / and then whatever the line number is. Research that first, because that might cause you to erase the entire file. So don't blame me for that. And we could see here that I guess something came too early. Function do get. And then, oh, okay. So I didn't properly close my if statement. In Bash, I have to close the if statement with an fi, or the reverse of if. So it read through this, and so that's a syntax error. So Control O to save, Control A to go down to the next screen, or Control A tab to go down back to the bottom screen, or run that with the up arrow to go back in our command history. Press enter, and unexpected do. Okay. So now it has a problem with this. Function do get. Let's see if I did do generate do get. Did I write the thing right? If read auth token. Expected do on line 238. Oh, maybe I didn't comment something out here. Ooh. That was line 235, so there we go. Put in an extra space in there, and that is not the name of that function. It is do _get. some respect on its name. Little things like this make me love coding so much. All right, cool. Would you like to enter your GitHub auth token? And I'll be like, you know, oh, see, and I'm looking at that. That's a bad prompt. Would you like to enter your GitHub auth token? I should have. Please enter your GitHub auth token, and then I have the option to skip, because then mentally I'm expecting to say, yes. Please enter your GitHub auth token. Press enter to skip. All right, I think that's a better prompt. All right, so now I enter my GitHub auth token, which is totally wrong. And then I'm going to do, all right, so 221 missing. Right, so and is this 220, 221? So you're missing a close bracket. Oh, okay. So Bash, the language itself, is a little bit pickier in terms of the syntax. Again, logic first, syntax next. It wants certain spaces for certain things, and in this case, that I didn't have a space between that quotation mark there, and it just interpreted that or read that improperly. All right. All right, command not found, random string. So random string should be doing this. Means that looks like I can get away with this. And I know how this would work in a string. I would encapsulate in the quotations and everything will be peachy keen, but I don't know how it's going to work in terms of a string that is not an actual, just like a name or anything like that. So in this case, I just wanted to echo, and then that'll be the name of the file in this case. So let's go ahead and run it again. Cool. So that works. So now we see that I have this randomized string here that's 5 characters long of upper and lowercase letters. So now I know this should work, and then now I can know that I don't need this there. So let's go ahead and put that to get that done. CLS now, LOL, or clear. Oh, you want to clear? Yeah, we can do a clear there. All right, so now I know I can actually write that auth token using that line, and it should output the file properly. All right, and I'll get rid of our test string there, so we don't need that. Want to see something cool? See, and then you can do, oh man, you can do watch ls-al/alh/temp. So with the watch command, you can actually have it run at certain intervals if you wanted to. So you can do like watch 1 or watch 2 or something like that, and it'll refresh the same command every 2 seconds. Sometimes you have to encapsulate the command in quotes. So let's go ahead and do that here. And so this is watching the temp directory for me. Oh, excuse me. So even in this temp directory, it has a whole bunch of crap that hasn't been deleted. So as I said, like, you can have stuff in here for months. We want to watch the top of the directory. So I think I could do st. Yeah. April 13th, perfect. So what I did is I added the command. So every 2 seconds it's actually going to refresh this list here. And with it refreshing that list like this, so the S for summary and T for time. So essentially what it's doing is if you do like LAST for last, The H is just for human readable, but if you just remember dash last for the ls command, what it'll do is actually do everything in descending order. So the latest file will be at the top as opposed to its normal behavior, which is the latest files at the bottom. And in our other window here, we've already saved our command. We're going to go ahead and press the up button and run it and go like this, put stuff in there, and we should see, boom, auth token. So now we see that the auth token has actually been created, or the auth token file has been created, and we can actually go into that file, cat temp auth token. And what we'll do is at the end of this, we'll actually go ahead and delete that file because we can see that this system isn't going through this temp directory often to actually delete any of that information. So that's a bit of an issue. And this is like one of my test systems. So this has like some old stuff in there. Real stuff like 2019. Oof. Anyway, so I can do cat on this auth token and Gabe, so you can see that, you know, I don't need an extension there and it'll read as a text file. So that's pretty much it on that. So cool. And what we're going to do is Control A tab, Control A tab, and then we're just going to clear this thing up a little bit. And let's get back to it actually. Right, so let's see if we're at a stopping point for the night. But this is about like just integrating, you know, new commands into a script. And that's one of the ways we do it in terms of like, okay, we look at what it requires. We look at what it requires to make something happen. Nice. Appreciate that, Gabe. We look at what it requires to make something happen, and then we write that to a file. We do those things, and then we think about, okay, well, if it's saying the auth token needs to read it from a file and it won't read it from a string, well, then we have to create that file. Now, if we create this file, well, you know, maybe other things will be created and we don't want to overwrite those other files. So we'll add a random string. I already have a function that gives me random characters, and all I have to do is just input the length as a parameter for that variable. And this is how you pass parameters in Bash for a function. So now I can echo the auth token that's given to me into a string, and then I can actually go ahead and do auth token login with token here. Now let's actually go ahead and use one of the other things that we were doing earlier, or that I was showing you guys earlier, using echo space $ question mark to see the run code of the last or the exit code of the last command. Using the exit code of the last command, we can see if something is a normal exit code. Maybe it normally exits without a 0 or non-successfully, or gives you some type of output or something like that. Or you can even set your exit code in your script. If it's a script that you run, you can set the exit code so that the next command can know what to do based off of that exit code. So in this case, I am going to Control A or Control O to save, Control A, Shift S. All right, cool. So now I can run this whole thing again and see if it gives me an error, which it should. And then I can also let's do this so we don't just keep on repeating ourselves too much here. So I want to actually make that into I want to put that into a variable. So I want to that $ and let's put that into variable. gh auth login exit code. You know you're a JavaScript developer when your variable names are this freaking long. All right, so cool. So that should assign that to a variable, and then I want to go ahead and echo that variable. So test that out. All right, cool. Oh, perfect. So in this case, what we see is auth token, no such file directory, and it exit with a code of 1. Now that is because we didn't update this line to our test line. But what's nice is that I know I can actually take that exit code, which is 1. If it's anything other than 0, 0 means if it exits with a code of 0, then that means it's successful, or there's no errors or any output or no custom exit code. Your exit code usually is numerical. I don't know if there's a range, but it's usually 0 to whatever number. I've seen up to like 127 or something like that. Actually, I even saw 130 a little while ago. But I've never researched that. So that'd be something fun for you guys to research, if anything. But what you can see here is that I've saved the exit code, which by echoing it after I ran this command, save that to an actual variable. And then now I can actually run an if statement on that. So I can do a sub if statement. So if GH exit code is, I think, not. Yeah, so I have to do the not here. And this is the hard thing about like being a polyglot of sorts. I wouldn't consider myself a polyglot, even though I work with different languages. I still just don't remember every little thing. Oh, we're almost coming up to the 2-hour mark, guys. Oof. I guess this is fun. All right, so if it is not equal to 0, then echo all right. And there we go. And we close that out. Also, let's get rid of there. So if that exit code is not equal to 0, echo keep streaming until it does equal 0. Because we don't leave until it's fixed. Boom. All right, cool. Keep streaming until it does equal 0. Try authenticating with GUI, and it says error validating 401 bad credentials. So we can actually turn this into a while loop like we have down here, where it's going to keep on asking you for the exit credentials, or sorry, the auth credentials. But in this case, yeah, like that's how that's going to look. If it doesn't equal 0, then we're just going to keep on going until it does. And then also add maybe even a way for the user to exit out of that because maybe they made a mistake and like, oh, I don't have this auth code, and they have to go look at it or something like that. Maybe even say, incorrect entry or service not available. Please check. And then what we'll probably do is something like this. Again, we're just doing this for users, making it user friendly for them. To personal access. So let's open this here and access. All right, hold on. So just search for GitHub, how to create a personal access token. And let's see, GitHub Docs, creating a token. Boom. All right, so we're just gonna look at the GitHub docs here, and we got a nice little link. Boom. All right, then, and then we can go ahead and take that and put it here in the string. So now we're helping the user out here when we're creating all this by giving them a way to look up the documentation and read how to do that. So we're going to do new line. As you see, there's no space in that. I believe with this echo, I'm going to need an E. I forget like little small stuff like this. It just bothers me, but it's what it is. Uh, okay. We'll just go without it for now, or we just test it. All right, so echo and then go here. I don't want it to exit because maybe they've entered in a whole bunch of information in terms of system IDs and all types of other stuff. So um, we'll just test it and then have it loop back. But then the other thing with looping back is that it's possibly going to reread all this information again. So I have to reinitialize this variable or something, and go from there. But sometimes all I have to do is just copy and paste this little bit here into the while loop, and then it keep on going until it breaks out. And then of course you have to also make sure that it's not a loop that's going on forever, even with proper entry or anything like that. So that requires testing. Skip. So that's boom, and okay, cool. So we can see that I think it's echo dash e dash e. With echo dash e should respect that new line character right here, which is the \n. All right, cool. And we do that because it's like, okay, now we're having like output like this. This is disgusting. You gotta have like a cleaner output than that. So let's go ahead and take out our test echo here. That's no longer needed. And then we can get a, oh, let's clear for Mr. Gabe A, if you're still watching. For those that are watching, I really do appreciate it. Thanks for, thanks for being here. And, hopefully you're learning something. All right. So skip. Great. Cool. So now we can see that it's outputting on another line. Well, one thing I don't like here is that this is, butted up against this or right underneath it, which is normal, right? But let's go ahead and make sure we have cleaner output there where there's a little bit more of a distinction of that line and it's a little bit more obvious. Oh, shoot. Damn, bro. Yeah, sorry for guys that are, sending me cash apps, man. Oh, I definitely got one. Whoa. Gabe, man, appreciate that, bro. Thanks, bro. Yeah, that's a lot of money, bro. I mean, I tell you guys, man, donate to yourselves first. Put a little bit more percentage away in your 401ks because I talk about that with the MGTOW retirement series. Put more into cryptos and things like that before you give to me. And if you choose to give to me, which Gabe, that's very generous with a $25 cash. Um, if you do give to me, man, I really do appreciate that. And there's other things I do have planned for that type of money and everything that's coming in. I'm kind of like just waiting until it gets to about like $100, and I'll actually start my t-shirt making franchise tag, if you will, stream. Hopefully, this is not like I've seen like my stream. It's messing up here. But I do want to say thank you for that, Gabe. That I really do appreciate that, brother. That's big of you, bro. I know you donate to a lot of people for I know you donate to a lot of people in different streams and everything like that. So I really appreciate you appreciating the content to that level. That's awesome, bro. For sure, I'll keep tuning in. Yeah, man, that's really cool, bro. All right. So press enter to skip. I mean, I don't have anything that says to skip, but it will just go to the next thing. Actually, let's check. Let's just actually make sure our skip is good. Yeah, our skip is good. So it should just exit out of the script in this case because there's nothing else to do. But let's go ahead and put in a code here. All right, cool. So error validating, pretty much it read the file, and we can even add another new string character there. But what's nice about Termius and some other terminal emulators or SSH clients, it's more of a SSH client, uh, that you can actually have, it highlights an actual hyperlink, so where you can actually just hover over it and click on it. So that's a really nice thing. So you can see that here, how that's being used. And most people have nicer IDEs, terminal emulators, or SSH clients, so they would appreciate stuff like that. So if I click on this here, click into the screen. No, it's not working anymore. Okay. Oh, okay, now it works. All right, cool. So if I click into it, it opens up our page here. So that's cool. And then this is a way to get people to the documentation. I will stop it there, man. Gabe, man, I really do appreciate that Cash App. I appreciate you guys just showing up, period, and giving me likes and still watching and tuning in. This was a 2 hour stream. I wanted it to be like an hour. I worked crazy today, so I'm gonna go for my walk here. Guys, make sure you're investing and donating to yourselves. I mean, honestly, let's just look at a little bit of portfolio action here. I mean, I'm looking at where um, I'm looking at what's happened even today in the cryptocurrency market. Ooh, I don't have much in my portfolio. I do have more than most. Um, And if I look at cryptocurrencies, and this is why I say, guys, like, listen, Gabe, thank you for giving me that money. But really, the biggest thing is, guys, donate to yourselves, donate to what you think are going to be good investments. This is not financial advice, but I mean, I'm doing pretty well with the cryptocurrencies. It's freaking amazing. Even today, I left work. I was talking with my friend, and it was at my portfolio balance was at like there's like 25,601 or something like that, right? Now, by the time before we left, it had already jumped $200 because we're going through a crypto pump right now. So, guys, look at this stuff, and this is why I say, hey, listen, invest in yourself, invest in the other things that, or invest in things that will help you. I always show my debts here, and how much I'm liquid, so I can pay off all my debts, have my liquid, and not even touch my retirements or anything like that. I do want you guys to, look at some of my investing videos, and hopefully it can help you make better decisions in your investments. And then what else I want to say? But guys, watch out for this. This is a transfer of wealth, if you will, and it's a great way that you can actually, uh, make some money. In some cases, it's extremely volatile. You can lose every single penny, but even if you do things like more conservative investing, like investing in a 401k or a Roth IRA, do it. It's extremely important. And me doing these streams is an investment, not saying, hey, listen, give me cash apps. I appreciate it. I take it. But it's an investment in the community, it's an investment in the community, and it's an investment in you guys in terms of learning stuff from another brother, another black man, and taking that into your own jobs and increasing your skill sets, or improving your skill sets, I should say, and increasing your worth so that you can start saying, hey, I want more money for one reason or another. So, guys, ask me questions and we can try and research those things live on stream as best as possible. Um, Sir Anthony, get back into crypto, man. If you feel that you're comfortable with it. I was in crypto in 2017. I was a part of the bloodbath. I got my ass handed to me. We talked about it on the latest interview that I did with Thai City and crypto with Lionel. Definitely go and check that interview out. It's under the, I think it was MGTOW Retirement, a discussion with crypto with Lionel and Thai City. We just did that on Sunday, so it's probably like a 1 or 2 videos ago. But go ahead and check that out. We talked a lot about, the great things that crypto is, and then we talked a little bit more about the reality and some of the things that you can do in terms of like, getting dividends based off of your cryptos. I said all that to say this, man. Thank you guys. I try to add value to you, the community, and you guys have shown me a lot of love, man, and I really do appreciate it. All right. So with that being said, I will end the stream. And again, thank you guys for supporting. Thank you, Gabe, for that. I really do appreciate that. And as always, if you're not taking what I say with a grain of salt, you're low on sodium. It's my little catchphrase. All right, cool. Appreciate y'all. Peace.